Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video, and in this video I want to speak to you guys about Trials of the Nine. This is of course Destiny 2's endgame PvP activity. In Destiny 1 we had Trials of Osiris, in Destiny 2 we have Trials of the Nine. It went live today, and it's a little bit different to the trials that we used to know, so in this video I want to go over what's new, how it's changed, talk about the different reward tiers, the stuff you can earn, and show you guys some of the gear that you can get. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated, and comment down below if you have any questions. Now the footage you're going to see is taken from TwoSixNine's stream. He is of course the better PvP player of the two of us, so he is there trying to go flawless while I bring you guys the information. Plus, he also streams pretty much every single day. He's been streaming a lot of Destiny recently, some of our raid runs and stuff, so if you guys want to check out his Twitch channel, then I will leave a link to that in the description box down below. So, to begin with, this is an important thing to talk about because some people were encountering issues trying to unlock Trials of Osiris, so to speak. Basically, Trials will only be available if you complete the following conditions. Firstly, you must have completed the Destiny 2 campaign. You must have also, on the character that you are using, completed the Call to Arms milestone at least once. And on top of that, you must at least be power 260. So, if you've done all three of those things, then when you go to your director, go to Crucible, Trials will be there, bang smack in the middle. If it's not there, then you probably haven't done one of those things on that character. So, with that unlocked, what do you need to know? Well, to begin with, Trials is a competitive game type, so it's played with one of the two different competitive modes. This week, the focus is on Countdown. That is, of course, the one where you need to plant the bombs, and the map is Eternity. Now, the actual flow for Trials of the Nine, first things first, it's 4v4, which is different to the 3v3 of old, Trials of Osiris. In addition to that, you no longer need to go and get yourself a card. Everybody by default has a card. When you hover over the Trials icon in the director, you will see your card is present there. If you get any losses, then you can simply reset your card by doing it directly from the director. Saves you flying down to a social space, having to go and get a new one, and then coming back up. So that part of the system is a lot cleaner. Interestingly, level advantages are disabled, so this is like a normal Crucible mode. Now, I don't know whether that is a thing that they will tweak on a weekly basis, but for this week at least, power does not matter, so you don't actually have to go in with, say, 300 power level to try and stand a good chance. Basically, provided you are above 260, then everyone's going to be on an even playing field. So that much is new. This activity also uses locked loadouts, kind of like what you would have seen in the Prestige Nightfall, in that once you've gone into the activity, you can't change your weapons. So once you're in the match, even between the individual rounds in something like Countdown or even Survival in subsequent weeks, you can't suddenly realise that your weapon setup is not working and then swap to something better. You have to plan for this before. So decide on your weapons before you go in, because you're then going to be locked for that round. Of course, in between rounds, once you return to orbit, you can swap your loadout then, but when you're in a game, you're locked. Now, in addition to that, there don't appear to be the boons that they used to be, so there isn't a kind of boon you can buy to remove a loss or to double up on a win. You basically now need to get 7 straight wins. Back in Destiny 1, Trials of Osiris of course required 9 wins, but that was with boons, so this way, without boons, you basically need to get 7 straight wins, no losses, if you want to go flawless. Flawless is still a mechanic in this, it is still present, so if you go flawless, you get by far the most loot. However, even without going flawless, if you do lose some matches along the way, you can still get some loot. In fact, there are actually 4 different reward tiers. To begin with, after winning your very first match, you'll then gain access to the social space, a place called the Third Spire. When you load in, it looks really, really cool, kind of like something out of like No Man's Sky, this big sort of sparse, white, very bright looking area, and you run forward and you'll find a vendor, an emissary of the Nine. This is actually one of 5 different vendors. The first one is of course on the base level. For getting 1 win, you can speak to her and you will see that she has a reputation system. See, when you win matches, you also win tokens of the Nine. These can be given in, much like any of the other vendors you've encountered in the game, and of course then once you hit the rank up part, you get an engram and you can open this for some Trials gear. However, it doesn't stop there. If you then go on to win 3 different matches, the blue glowing jump platform to the right of the vendor will activate, and on jumping on that, it'll actually raise you up to the next platform where you find the next emissary of the Nine. This is where you get your 3rd tier reward package. The same thing applies for 5, you would then jump on the next platform, it'll take you to another vendor, and then the same thing applies for 7, it'll take you to the very top of the spire, and that is where you get your 7 tier rewards. However, important distinction, 7 tier rewards are different to flawless rewards. So you can still get tier 7 rewards by winning 7 matches even if you got a loss. But if you want the flawless rewards, then following the 4th vendor, after getting your tier 7 rewards, you will then jump through a portal and you'll be taken to this area. I'm not entirely sure how it fits in lore-wise, but it seems like a kind of another dimension. You go in and there is a huge emissary, much bigger than the ones you've just spoken to. There are also some unicorns roaming around in the background. Shout out to my buddy HaydnOSmith for this footage. He also went flawless. and it's taken from his stream. I've linked his Twitch channel and his Twitter in the description box down below. Definitely make sure you check him out. He also streams a lot of Destiny as well. But when you're here, you speak to the vendor, and then once you get there, he will give you your flawless rewards. Now, the actual reward tiers work as follows. 3 and 5 are simply Trials engrams, so you open them for some random Trials gear. For tier 7, you get to choose from one of the 3 weapons that are currently listed there. And when you go flawless, you can actually choose from 2 items there, and this is of course the flawless gear. There is a separate armor set. You have your flawless Trials gear and your Trials gear, as you have done in the past. Additionally, if you complete the flawless run, you'll also get an emblem and an aura, which looks very similar to the one for the Nightfall, only instead of being like a dark blue, it's more of a sort of turquoise colour. So essentially, whilst playing through Trials, you can actually get quite a bit of loot, because by winning matches, you're getting tokens, which you can then hand in to rank up, and then you get engrams. But of course, in the process, if you then also tick off the different tiers, you can get the rewards from those, and as mentioned, if you go flawless, you then get that. So if you do go flawless, you essentially get 5 different sets of loot, which is really quite generous. Now, a couple of other cool things worth calling out. At the beginning of a Trials match, there is now this really cool intro screen. Admittedly, the first few times I saw it, I thought this is really awesome. However, after you've seen it quite a few times back to back, especially if you lose matches and you reset, then you might be getting a little bit tired. But it is really useful, because what it basically does is it introduces the team, and what will happen is when it gets to you, it will play your left D-pad emote. So if you have, say, one from a bright engram, say maybe you have an exotic engram, it will then play that there. So that's kind of a way to personalize how you present yourself to the other team, but it also gives you the weapon loadout, which is really useful because in Trials of Osiris of old, what you would do during the sort of loading in sequence, during the orbit sequence, you would go to the roster, inspect the other team to try and work out what subclass they're running, what weapons they're using. Now it's just laid out on the table so you can all see it together. So, that's the intro screen, cool way to introduce the map, and of course you then dive into the match, play through the competitive mode, complete it. If you get your wins, it's then updated on the card. If you get a loss, it's similarly updated on the card. Of course, bear in mind the formula is still similar to how it used to be, in that you can only get 3 losses, so the bottom row of icons are the losses, the top row are your 7 wins. So that is pretty much it for the actual Trials changes, but now what I want to do is give you guys a look at some of the gear. So even if you don't have an engram, when you go to the vendor, you can inspect the Trials engram and see some of the gear that it contains. So I'm going to scroll through here very quickly to give you guys a brief look. The hand cannon is called Judgment, and the interesting thing about these weapons, all the Trials weapons, is they all have a variation of a perk that revolves around sliding. So in the hand cannon case, you have Slide Shot, whereby sliding partially reloads the weapon's magazine and temporarily boosts the range and stability. Of course, if you don't want that, you can go with Opening Shot, but that is something to bear in mind, because of course all the different weapons are going to have something that focuses around sliding, something you typically do in the Crucible anyway, so something you can use to get a little bit more out of the weapon. They look really, really awesome. I'm loving the design of them. There are definitely some weapons here that I really, really want to get myself. However, moving on from there, the Pulse Rifle is the Relentless. Again, speaking about that slide-specific perk, this one is called Slideways. Sliding, again, partially reloads its weapon's magazine, and this time it temporarily boosts handling and stability, whereas the previous one was range and stability. After that, believe it or not, this is a scout rifle. It looks like a sniper rifle. You'll see when you actually see the sniper, it's different, but this is a hefty scout rifle. Again, this one has a sliding perk, the same as the Pulse Rifle, Slideways, so that one is of course for handling and stability. The shotgun is called a Sudden Death. The slide one for this one is the same as the hand cannon, so again boosts to range and stability. The sniper rifle, which now as you can see looks clearly different to the scout rifle, considerably bigger. Very, very cool again. This one has the same perk as the hand cannon, again sliding, so every single weapon, as mentioned, does have an emphasis on sliding. You don't have to use it, there are of course alternate perks, but if that is a key part of your PvP gameplay, if it's something you do quite a lot, then you might want to try leaning into this. There's also a sidearm called a Swift Verdict. And then finally, there is a submachine gun, probably my favourite one, partly because I just love submachine guns, but also just because it looks really, really awesome. So this is the sub. It is, of course, worth calling out that this is not all of the weapons. If you noticed in some of the gameplay I showed you guys earlier, then some of the rewards, for example, for going to tier 7, were some of the weapons that were omitted here, example being an auto rifle. So while at this stage I don't know whether there are genuinely weapons for every single category, including things like swords and rocket launchers, there are definitely weapons that are outside of these engrams. So these are of course the ones that you can get simply by handing in tokens. This is a selection of the loot you can get from there. Whether it rotates on a weekly basis, again, will remain to be seen. But of course, as you go up the higher tiers, you'll then get exposed to the additional pieces of armor, the additional pieces of gear that you don't see within this list. Of course, on top of that, at the top, there is the Trials gear. Now, bear in mind, this is the standard Trials gear. This is the stuff you get from the engrams, from the loot. This is not the flawless gear. So you can scroll through a few of those, but if you actually stay on this page, it'll actually load up what your entire character will look like whilst wearing that gear. Now, 2/6s are Titans, so that's what you see here. I will, of course, be jumping in myself later on with a Hunter, but for the time being, that is a quick look at the Trials gear, the new Trials game mode, and basically how it all works. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, by all means let me know. I will of course be jumping in a little bit later on tonight, and if myself or 269 go flawless then, I may well upload a flawless run or some flawless loot. Show you guys some of that, but I figure for the meantime, this will give you guys the top level on what's changed, what's new, how to unlock the mode if it's not showing up for you, and a few things on top. So thanks again for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.